If y'all watch my Downfall of Joe Budden podcast video from years ago, this is when Rory and Mal were still in the podcast. I kind of spoke about why the Joe Budden podcast was failing at the time. And now failing is like, that's the word, right? It was still extremely popular, but it had a downturn.
I don't know the last time that channel had a 1 million view video.
Joe Budden, he was investing in like these women's shows, like See the Thing Is, and then Karen Civil had a podcast, and it was just a very random amalgamation of shows.
It's not just the fact that it's all women, it's just the fact that it doesn't, like nothing in your data says to do that. Like, how did you make that business decision?
It didn't fit the fan base of Joe Budden. Like, you had the Joe Budden podcast, you have those viewers, which are majority male. What do those viewers love? They love the music talks, they love the sports talks. So your thought then is, okay, male audience, sports, music. I know, let's go put a bunch of women podcasts on where they're talking about dating in 2021 or whatever year it was. Let's talk about splitting bills and all this, which is cool. I mean, those topics are popular, but for that Joe Budden podcast audience, that male audience, that 18 to 35, if you want to hear me go more into this, go watch my Downfall of Joe Budden podcast video. It was decisions like that I felt were the cause of the downturn of the podcast. And then obviously there was the drama and controversy with Joe between Rory and Mal, who eventually exited stage left. To Joe Budden, to his credit, he came back and he came back strong. He's doing well. I mean, he's back in the cultural zeitgeist, as they say. I mean, he's getting good views. You know, you got 100, where is that 100K or 250K or 350K or, you know what I mean? Like the clips are doing well, 119K. So he has revitalized that feeling for the podcast that people kind of felt left after Rory and Mal left. So one, this shows you that Joe Budden has a formula that's repeatable. It's not so much about his co-hosts, although the co-hosts are important, but Joe Budden can recreate this thing over and over again. I mean, he can do the podcast by himself. He can do it just with Rory. He can then bring in Mal. He can dump both of them. He can bring in a new cast. So it's repeatable, right? And I actually think Joe Budden has, I don't know him personally, but it seems like he's more passionate about the media thing than he was about his rap career, because he's always been in the media as long as I can remember. Joe Budden TV is not just something that just happened on YouTube. This was something that was a thing back in the 2000s. Joe Budden got punched out in real life, then went on live stream.
I get punched in my face. This guy brings me a fucking cup of ice like I'm thirsty or something.
With the ice on his eye. This is like in 2006 or 7 or something like that. So he's ahead of his time, man, for real. In terms of like the live streaming and the media, his show is back pretty much to the numbers they used to get, 350K in an episode. So how did they do this? Really, it's resilience. You know, Joe Budden, when he was going through all the stuff with Rory and Mal, I mean, he kept pushing, he kept pushing, he kept dropping. It was business as usual. So really it's a story of, yo, don't stop. Keep going, keep dropping, keep doing your thing, keep pushing. You know, if you're in the content space, keep pushing the content out. Even if some videos and some podcasts are not doing as well, keep shooting. As Kobe would say, keep shooting. Eventually, you know, he started making buckets and now he caught a rhythm. The thing about Joe Budden is he's gonna fall out with his group of people. I mean, we've seen this happen throughout his time in media. He's gonna fall out, he's gonna make friends with people, then he's gonna fall out. It's gonna be a dramatic public fallout. So I don't think any of us are expecting Joe Budden's current cast to stay together as it is, you know, for time in memoriam. Eventually there's gonna be a messy fallout, and then that's gonna be some drama, but that drama is gonna fuel the podcast. It's gonna bring the views up. It's gonna bring them back in conversations. There might be a little plateau or flat period in terms of views and engagement, and then Joe Budden will whip some shit back up and recreate it, right? Say what you want about Budden. He kept his podcast afloat. He brought it back from what seemed like, at the time, it seemed like permanent damage he was doing to his podcast and to himself as a brand. And then he rebranded it. You know, this used to be, first it was Joe Budden TV, then he changed it to Joe Budden Network, where he bought on all those random podcasts. Now it's back to Joe Budden TV. So he's like rebranded a bit too. Changed his name, like, and then to, you know, to be back in this space where he's, you know, back getting good views, he's back in the cultural zeitgeist, as they say. It's a testament to hard work, for real. I saw some stuff happening with like Joe Budden and Flip. I don't really watch the podcast anymore as much. I kind of just see the clips that come on social media. Like, I only watch Budden podcasts when there's something happening in music. When there's something big happening in music, I'll watch. But, you know, other than that, I'll just watch the clips. I used to listen to the podcast. Yeah, I seen some stuff happening with Queen's Flip and Joe Budden. I don't know if it's scripted, fabricated. I don't know what it is. I don't know. How long do you guys think it'll take for Joe Budden to fall out with his current cast? Put it in the comments. Anyway, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Top5rapwebsite.com. Peace.
I've noticed they've been stuck like at 912, 913 subscribers for like almost a month now. And for a channel with already 900,000 plus people on it, to go from 912 to 913 and to have that take about a week and a half, 2 weeks, as of posting, they're still at 913. It's like the more subscribers you have, the easier it is to get more subscribers. You know, going from 10 subscribers to 100 is tough because you only have 10 and you got to brick by brick it. But when you have 100 subscribers, it's a lot easier to get to 200 than it was to get to 100 because you already have 100 people watching now. So to have 900,000 people, almost 1 million people, and you're only getting about 1,000 new subscribers, not even that per week, and you're posting actively. It's not like the channel's inactive. You're posting actively, and then there's a lot of money being poured into this. All the featured images on, and these are things I noticed because, you know, I do it myself for my website and my YouTube. All the featured images, beautiful. Camera work, beautiful. Sound quality, even the venue where you're hosting. All this has kind of costs to it. It's a costly process to not be gaining subscribers. And if I look at the YouTube, and again, I know YouTube, I don't know if this is their home base. They changed their name on YouTube from Joe Budden Network to Joe Budden TV. So I would assume that the YouTube means something to them. But I can't imagine that YouTube is their home base when like most of their episodes have like this huge audio portion that's bleeped out. At least 15 to 20% of the episode is muted because like they're playing music. Like, you gotta stop playing music. Unless you're on your main platform, wherever that may be. And I'm just kind of ranting here, but maybe your main platform is SoundCloud, and when we listen on SoundCloud, we can hear everything. But if your main platform is YouTube and like 10 to 20% of your episode is muted, you just gotta stop playing music during the episode so we can enjoy it. So if I'm looking at the YouTube, and this is the free content, and the free content is not doing great, I wonder I can only imagine what the Patreon numbers are looking like. If it's taking a week and a half, 2 weeks to go from 912,000 subscribers to 913,000, if it's taking like 2 weeks to do that on YouTube where it's free, I can only imagine the Patreon numbers are lower, and I can only imagine the Patreon numbers matter because there's some type of contractual agreement, that of which I don't know, but that could be the source of the discontent. So I haven't even mentioned that Rory and Mal, excuse me, have not returned to the show as of posting, but I wanted to make this video even before that. Like I was noticing like there's some issues going on here even before I knew there was discontent with the co-hosts on the podcast. Just looking at the YouTube numbers and looking at the new shows. Again, I wanted to do this video a while ago, but I don't want to, you know, cast that bad juju out there. But now other YouTubers are doing it. Other people are reporting on it. Angela Yee, I love you, Angela Yee. She just put, you know, this situation on her rumor mill, on her rumor report on the Breakfast Club. So people are talking about it now. It's not just up to me to speculate. I don't listen to the full podcasts anymore. I kind of skip around. So I was missing the tension between the co-hosts anyways. Whatever tension there was, like, I wasn't really catching it like other people were anyways. I won't use this video to kind of talk too much about the Rory, Mal, Joe Budden breakup situation because there was issues before that. What I want to talk about right here is we can't overvalue ourselves, right? We have to correctly value ourselves. We have to realize that the market is in the business market, it's about timing, and it's not about fairness. It's not about none of that. It's about timing, and it's about profitability. When Joe Budden went to Complex, he continued to do his podcast. Smart. Complex may not even know what to do at the time. They probably didn't even care. They probably wouldn't even allow someone to do that today. Like, if you're going to do a podcast while doing our show, we need a bit of that podcast. But at the time, that wasn't the situation. So smart. Joe Budden continued to do the podcast while doing the show. DJ Academics continued streaming while doing Everyday Struggle, which is great. The massive size of Complex, despite how you feel about them, despite how you feel about their writers, the size, the infrastructure, and the resources of Complex to put you in a studio, to have the editing team, to be like, yo, all you gotta do is come in and talk and leave. All you gotta do is come in at this time, talk and leave. Everything else is handled. And for a guy like me, that means a lot, because I'm a guy that preps the camera, shoots the shit. If there's an issue during, I gotta go fix it. I'm editing, I'm publishing, and I'm doing the fucking the featured images on Photoshop. I'm doing everything. So for a company to come in and be like, yo, all you gotta do is come in and then just do your album review. Just talk to the camera. We'll handle the rest. Bruh, that takes like 80% of what it takes to do this out. Like, now I got so much extra time. So I think for Joe, he